Okay. So good morning, everyone. Let us start the third session on JavaScript, where we have already learned about variables and data and other types of data. So after that, that was initial two sessions, sort of introduction. You already know about data and variables, but there are a few things like coercion. Coercion is a very important thing in JavaScript. Okay. Like you know that in Java there is a similar phenomena. What is that called? You must have had the similar experience with Java when you were learning Java. There was a similar thing like the coercion in Java. Yes.
Parse
Parseint is one of the functions, but
sir, wrapper class.
Huh?
Wrapper class.
Wrapper class, correct. Wrapper class. That is auto wrapping, auto unwrapping, or auto boxing, auto unboxing. Similar to that, JavaScript has the coercion. Okay, just try, whenever you learn languages, you try to find out the similarities and dissimilarities between the other languages that you know. That will help. I would like to excuse. You have to excuse me because I was not well yesterday, and today also I'm not that well, feeling well. But okay, I'm in a position to carry on with this. Anyway, so here we start functions. Functions is is a familiar thing to you. You have done a lot of functions in C, C++, Java, any language that you have done. But here in JavaScript, one beauty of this function is it is of course having a hierarchy. Like for this example, this is one JavaScript code. Okay, you have placed the function here. Doesn't matter. You could have placed the function after this the code as well. So because it is just the function, you start with the function name, and this is the function keyword. Whenever you say this function name is great1, okay, and whenever you say that a function appended, this reserved word function, it will be appearing to the compiler that this greet1 is a function. It's a normal function having a parameter, one parameter here. You do not have to define the prototype of what the type of user is. No need. You just have to pass the value. You are passing a value, not a reference. Okay. And so what you do, you start a function with a function keyword. Don't give anything other than function. And that will make this particular greet1 as a function. Function, it is the same. It will have an opening parenthesis and the closing parenthesis, the first bracket, and where it can be an empty one or it could be a parameterized one. So you are saying return, and you know I'm giving this in Java also. You have done this, that inverted comma. So that is where you find the tilde on the keyboard. The tilde, just within the tilde, you will see a slanting inverted comma. Okay, just give me 1 minute. So this tilde, that means this inverted comma, within that, it is not exactly within double quotes. You are seeing that? Because if you give it within double quotes, the value, this is called the embedded, or you are returning a value from a variable. Okay, you have to give within the dollar sign and a curly braces. That will make this particular not a literal, not a string. It will be represented as a placeholder value. This is a placeholder. So to give it as a placeholder, that is within the single quote. But this is also not a single quote like this. It is not a single quote like this. You have a difference between this and this. This is a slanted one, and that is just a inverted single quote, which is found just below the tilde sign. The tilde, there is this tilde sign. And you see, you press this thing just on the key which holds the tilde, you will find this particular symbol. You know that. So once you do that, now with the hello is a string, but here you are trying to find out a value of a variable. That variable which has been passed as a formal parameter for the function greet1. So this function is a named function. We will also see there are unnamed functions or anonymous functions. Okay. So here the function has been defined. The function has been defined within this block. Now you are saying that let user be this particular value, a string, and you are making another variable. You are calling this another variable. You are saying greet1 user. So it is the beauty here that you can, with the return value, you could just, because here it is not returning some value. It is returning the entire string. So you are actually calling this whenever you are assigning this str a variable, you are calling this greet1 function with the formal parameter user. So you are calling this function greet1 with a value called Devashish. So you are passing a value, and the return value as a string, you are putting that in a variable called str, and then you are trying to print that str. Is that fine? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Very simple, very simple. And you see the use, how simply you can return the value, whether it's a numeric value or a string value. And also not a string value. It is holding a value with a variable with the value. So it is entirely returning a string called hello Devashish and exclamation marks. And you are printing it. And now another function. Here, whenever you are using a function, now what is the name of the function? When you say let add is a variable, and you are saying function equal to function num1, num2. These these are the two formal parameters you are passing. But what is the name of the function?
Adds.
Add.
Basically, add is equal to function. That function whole thing is into the add.
Okay. So what is the function name, if I may ask you? Like,
So
what is the name of the function here? The
no,
function
sir, there is no function.
There is no function name. It is called anonymous function. So here you are passing into this add an object-like function. Isn't it an object-like? Like you are just calling a function without any name. So do you understand that we are gradually going to some lambda function? Here, this is a function with a name. Here, there is no function name, anonymous function. And anonymous function gives rise to lambda expression, right? We have learned in Java. But at the same time, since the use of this is like an object, so you are directly assigning that object into a variable. Now the variable takes the shape of a function. You can say that add becomes a function here. So add is the function through an anonymous function without any name. So add becomes you have created a a function through an anonymous function or a lambda function. Lambda function we have not yet applied, but we will see that. So here you are saying return num1 plus num2. So you are adding two values which are passed as parameters. This is also one of the use. This way also you could have done. Okay. So if you think that you could have given this entire thing into this, you should have given this within this, right? The same thing you could have done this way or directly this way. So instead of greet one user, you could have just given let str equal to function and user, and within that braces you would have written this one, and outside the braces you would have said dot that result, another variable where you are storing the return value of the summation of 5 and 6. So here you are passing 5, 6. 5 plus 6 is 11. So the function add returns the value result. Will it print 11 or something else? So this one is called a function expression. Okay, this is a function expression. So as if that is a function, you are giving an expression like this, and that expression result is stored over here. The entire expression is up to this through a function, anonymous function, and that add now becomes a function. You see, it is behaving just like the anonymous function, where you are passing into that add function 5 and 6. Otherwise, this was an ordinary variable, but now you cannot say it's an ordinary variable, because in JavaScript you know that it would hold the shape of the data. So if the data is numeric, it will be a numeric data variable. If the expression results into a string, then the data type is of the variable is a string data or string variable. Now similarly, if you pass in a function, whether it's a named function like here or an unnamed function or an anonymous function, then this becomes a function as well, like str becomes a function as well. And that function, you can use it and store it in the result into another variable. Now this only has the return value. This is not a function. This is just a variable, a numeric variable. So add 5 and 6 is the result is 11 because you have done this, stored here, and you are printing the result. Now, for the same sake, we say that let some other variable. You say add. Now, add is already a function now. So, will you think that this sum is also a function? So, this is called sort of an function is an object. So, this sum becomes an object of this function, because it holds whatever the result and whatever the function, actually the function prototype into this, and therefore you are just printing the sum. It will print the sum. It will not print the result. We will see that. What will it print as a sum? It will say that this I am nothing but the function of add. It will not print the result. Okay. Because you have not passed in anything like 5 and 6. You are just passing the prototype of the function add, and that function add has been derived from anonymous function. Like this is the prototype. Okay. So this is called the object, as a function as an object is added, and this becomes an object. Another very important concept is hoisting. The same thing. The concept is the same, but the term, because the interviewer will try to understand whether you are familiar with this term hoisting. Yes, in JavaScript, when you say that you are hoisting, that means it is you are talking about something like global, local, and the default value. Basically, the default value is the hoisting. You are reserving a placeholder as a default value. So that is called the hoisting, the default value. Let's say you have a user variable. Now, user variable has already been defined, like you say let user. So you do not have to redefine it. You do not need to do a let. If you do that, while you run it, there is a runtime error. Because you are trying to duplicate, you are trying to define it second time. Not define it. Just use it. Just you are assigning another value called the, you can give any name. Okay. Now, and I'm saying the same function greet. I'm passing you some user, some variable. Let's see what is the function definition. Let num equal to 5 within this. So will you say that this is a global variable? Now this is a global variable because it is defined outside the body of the function. So it is not restricted within this block. So Snehashi or the user variable is a global variable, but num is a local variable because it is a variable which has been defined within the function. So whenever you are outside this function block, the scope of this num variable is lost. You are saying you are trying to print what is the variable inside the function. Just 1 minute. So you are printing the local variable num, the value. After that, you are trying to print console log user. So something you are trying to do something to do with the global variable, because here you are not finding user. You can find you because it has been passed externally, but you and user is different. So here the user is nothing but Snehashish because it's the global variable. The global variable has the scope defined everywhere. And now another with a single quote, I mean the inverted single quote, you are similarly doing like this, hello, and within this you're trying to print that value hold within that formal parameter, which is a variable passed from outside. Now this is again, becomes a local variable, if I give this outside the block, you are sure that this num will fail because the runtime in the runtime compiler doesn't find this num because it is not a global variable. It was defined, and this one you are not doing inside this function. Therefore, it is going to give you wrong compiler error. So I know that I comment it out. So here you are again, you are having a str function, a str as a variable where you are storing returning the value of whatever the greet user. So greet user. So here you will be passed with a value hold within this. So you now becomes Snehashish. So both of them are Snehashish. User Snehashish and you also Snehashish because you are passing this as you. Whenever you are printing this str, you are printing, you are calling this function, nothing else. Because whatever the value of all these things happened, it's stored here and it will be printed over here. We will see that how the output looks. Now we come to the main thing called hoisting. I have said that I am passing for an addition function, which is defined with function. So this addition is a function. We are passing three variables, num1, num2, and this num3 equal to 1 is the default value. And the default value is nothing but a placeholder or hoisting. In JDBC, in JDBC or in other this thing, you will find these placeholders are very important in Oracle or anywhere in SQL. So you will have a binding. But before that, you are blocking that position and giving a default value. Here you are printing num1, num2, num3. So what will be printed? Whatever you are passing through addition, it is 5 and 6. So you are not passing the third parameter. That's fine because you have already a placeholder over here. So it will print 5, 6, and 1. And whenever you say return num1 plus num2 plus num3, so it will be 5 plus 6 plus 1. So whenever you say console result, this will be 12, right? 5 and 6. So what should be the result? 5 plus 6 plus 12. Yes. Another result is you are using the same addition, but here it is sort of overriding. This addition and this addition is overriding because here you are passing three parameters. And this 5 will now override the value of num, which is the default value. So now the value is, you should think it should be 16. But let us run this one. So for running, you have to use the terminal, new terminal, and you will know that, yeah, you are in this directory. What you do, you first of all try to find out whether we have, yes, we have functions.js. So clear the screen. We will say node, we will try to compile it. And you do not need to type in the full. You just press tab, this thing. Let us see from the beginning. So I'm passing a value called Devashish. So whenever I say hello, and within this, you are printing this variable, and the value is hello Devashish and the semicolons, I mean the exclamations. Fine. Now, when you say yeah, you are coming to the next one. You are saying the function add returns the value. The function add returns the value 11 because you have passed in 5 and 6. So fine. That is also you understood. It's an anonymous function. You have called it. You have first of all stored the anonymous function into another variable, but that variable now takes a shape of a function. And then you are using that variable as a function. Fine. That is allowed. But here, let sum equal to add, and you saying console log sum. Okay. Do you see that this in blue? As exactly it is not giving you the result of 5 and 6, which is 11. It is giving you that, saying that this sum is nothing but it is holding the address of this function add. So this also becomes a function pointer. So this sum is nothing but a function pointer, and the function is add. Okay. Whenever you are trying to print what is this sum, so this sum is nothing but holding an address of a function called add. So it is sort of a pointer, but it's very simple. You are not using any pointer indication or anything like that. You are just holding the value of the address of the function, and hence this becomes a pointer to the function. If anybody has an idea of C, you will understand. So anyway, this object, now this sum becomes an object. Object is nothing but a pointer is an object, pointer to an address of add. Similarly, here, first of all, when we say greet user, and the entire thing is stored in str. When you say console log str, what it is doing? It goes here. Num is a local variable inside function 5. So num is a local variable inside function and the value is 5. Correct? Because it's a local variable. Then it is printing user. User is Snehashish, global variable. Fine. And also u becomes a user which has been passed as a formal parameter. So u takes the value Snehashish. You understand that? But this user has used the global variable user and passed it over as a value into the function greet, and that is being printed over here. So it is printing hello Snehashish and exclamation, 3 exclamation marks. Now, so function addition, num1, num2, num3. So it is printing num1 as 5, 6, 5, 6 and comma 5, 6 and 1, and returning 5 plus 6 plus 1, it is 12. Okay. So this gives you this one, and calling this again, but passing instead of no value, you have used the default value here. You are passing a value 5. So here you are printing 5, 6 and 5, not 1. And unlike this, you are printing 5, 6 and 5. You understand that? And then therefore the result is 60. So very simple. Right now, till now, any questions? If you have understood or not?
No, sir.
No difficulty. Correct. So what I will do, I will close this chapter. And try to unlock this. We are coming to the next chapter. The next topic, which is the Lambda expression in JavaScript. Let me put it over here. Let us go step by step. Okay, so we have this section where we will start to understand what is the arrow function. Arrow function in Java, what was the Lambda expression? What was the Lambda expression arrow function? It was double this thing equal to sign and this thing, right? Prior to that, you had either this one, or you could have given some j comma k or something like that, some parameters or empty parameter. You would say this, and you give some either you this, because if there were multiple this thing. But here, similarly, the same thing, but here you are using this one, single arrow. Got it? So lambda is nothing but whatever replace it with, the knowns are replaced as if it is already known. So you do not have to mention it again. Here, we have a function like this, anonymous function. Fine. Any anonymous function, we are trying to replace with a lambda expression. Here, if this original one was this, how do we convert it? Like, let's say that greet is a variable, but here it is holding the anonymous function. What is the anonymous function? This function is just an anonymous function and doesn't have any parameter. So here we do not need to mention function because anonymous function will not have any name. So you are not giving any qualifier like function. And there is oh, sorry, I have just given you the wrong thing. It should be a double one. And in Java, it is a single one, right? Correct. It is in JavaScript, it is with a double arrow. That becomes a lambda expression. And this is the block of the lambda expression. You can give a semicolon here as well. Doesn't matter. And you are saying that within this block of anonymous block, you are saying you are printing hello world and you are returning nothing. Fine. After that, you say console.log greet. Because this greet has now become a function which is holding the lambda expression. Any confusion, any questions? You may give a semicolon or not, but it's a better practice to always give. This block is a part of this function represented by this lambda expression. So better to give a semicolon here. And when you say console.log, you are printing the entire function, whatever the output is, onto the screen. This is one way. Another way is, this is you are passing empty, no parameter, empty function. Here you are passing a parameter, like here you are passing user. Hello user. Here there was static message. Here there is a dynamic message. You do not know what the user is. So whatever the user is, will be passed into it. But still this greet is a function. And here you are directly putting within the, whenever you are calling this greet function, you are passing a value. That value you are passing through a lambda expression. So this will work. Another way is, this is again a lambda expression for this particular anonymous function. What is happening here is, you are passing two parameters, numeric parameters, but you are not giving any name. Fine, because it is anonymous. Therefore, you can use a lambda expression. And within the block, because there are multiple statements, if there were a single statement, you could have avoided the braces. Now, here within this block of anonymous function, which is through a lambda expression, what you are doing is, if num2 less than 0, then num2 equal to minus num2. That means you do not want, even if the num2 is a negative number, you are representing that as a positive number. That's why you are minus num2. Or if it is not a negative number, you just print the number, or you just store num2 equal to num2. Fine. Then you are saying whatever you have passed in num1, and then based on this condition, you have either, if it's a negative number, You have converted that into a positive number. If it was a positive number, you would just have kept it same. Simple example, just to say. But you are using a lambda expression for this. And this is a ternary operation. You know that. Now, fine, come to this. Let sum equal to add. This is the function. Okay. And the result is you are passing into this sum, because now sum is a function. It is the same prototype as add. We have seen that earlier. Here, it has become a function of add because it is now an object of this function. So you have created this object. Whenever you have assigned the address of this function into a variable, this becomes a function. And since it is a function, you can pass in the same prototype. You are maintaining the same prototype. You have passed in num1 as 5 and num2 as -6. So if it is -6, it will be +6. So what will be the result? Will it be -1 or 11?
So
Whenever
11. 11.
Because, yeah, right. That's how you are demonstrating that this function you have embedded within this sum, and this sum, when you are passing this, it is executing nothing. But whenever you are calling this, you are actually calling this. You are actually calling this lambda expression. So any which way you want to use it, JavaScript has all the facilities available with you. Let us run this and try to find out step by step. We would like to go by this.
Sir,
Hello.
sir,
Hello.
sir, it's me, Rehan.
Rehan, tell me.
Sir, if we only have a single sentence, we can do away with the curly braces and the
Yes.
return keyword as well.
No, if that is a return only, if suppose you are not having this if statement, okay, you could have easily you could have said this.
Sir, even the return keyword could also have been moved.
Yeah. But there is some error here. Let this function in 120. Somewhere I have used this one. Here I have started here. Anywhere did I close it? So I am saying that I want to just for the time being. Just 1 second. Okay. So fine. Here I have given this one. So initially somewhere here I have to give it. Yeah. So fine, what we were running is this one. Okay. I save it and then let me close this one, reopen the thing. Yeah. So let us see what is happening here. In the second block of code, like with arrow function, what we are saying is let greet a lambda function, a lambda expression of hello world. So hello world, this one is printed and there is no return. So it is returning a blank, nothing written. Okay. And you have called within this. So this one will be executed. Similarly, with a parameter user, what you are saying, hello Devashish. Yes, because the user was passed into as a fixed value or a value within whenever you are calling great, and that value is passed into this anonymous function or a lambda expression. So this is fine. Now, as Rehan said, that if it is a single statement, I mean single line statement, so in that case I do not have to I do not have to give a block of within the curly braces. But here my question was that if I had passed something negative, here we have passed in negative as a second parameter, I would convert it into a positive one and give the result. So here, because we have not done, we have given only num1 plus num2, fine, then the result becomes -1. Yes, it is. So here you see I have not given any braces. That is fine. But suppose you do not give this, will it give an error? JavaScript doesn't give an error for this. It is unlike the Java or some other languages. Here, I am not getting any error, but it's always a good practice. You always use a semicolon. Like here also, you might not have given this one. But once I open this, I wanted to execute this. Fine. What I do is I also have to bring out this. And now, if I say I will get not a value of -1, but a value of 11. Sum is undefined.
Sir, the return keyword is you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. So because I am trying to return a value of the sum of this num1 plus num2, then it works. Because otherwise it doesn't have any scope. It is undefined because num1 and num2 becomes undefined. Okay. Five minus 6 and it becomes +6 and then therefore the result. Now let me go into some other thing. Any questions on this lambda expression or arrow function?
No, sir.
I know I'm not being able to, there's a bit of lack of flow in today's session. I am not getting some issues of my health. Anyway, but I will continue. Let us see the object type of how we are going to use a function as an object. That is very important to understand. So here we will see, as we have learned in Java, we will see exactly a function can be used as like a class, like an object. Here I will put this thing. Same error I was going to go do it again. So here I'm just showing you the object type of use of how will you use a function as an object. Let's say I have an object, because this object is included. I think we have gone through objects. No, we have not. We have directly come to functions. But here we are giving a bit of an idea of an object, how JavaScript handles object. Similar to the class. In a class in Java, you have to say class, public class or whatever class, and they give the class name. Here, you are not using a capital letter. The first letter is not capital. That is the difference. But anyway, because we are now going to use it as an object within JavaScript. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to use a type. We use a type called class and then this thing. But you can use it as well. We will see that as well. Let's say this is one of the variable, but that variable, because of this entire braces, this entire block will make it behave like an object, because this object has properties or attributes. The attribute, these are the key and these are the value. Key, value, key, value. So this value is identified by the key. So this key is called sort of, you also do that same thing. Don't you say that I mean in Java also you have this int I equal to something. So that I or that CPU, that is called the key over here. Or you can say field. You can say a field. This is a field or a variable, you can say. But whenever you are referring to an object, always try to give the correct term. Either you say key or an attribute or a field. These are all fields. So three fields. One, the CPU of the laptop. Laptop is an object, and this is the property or the attribute. That laptop is having one CPU, i9, and a RAM which is of 16 GB, and a brand. The laptop brand is Lenovo. So these are the characteristics of the laptop. And this laptop is also having a function. So how do you define a function here? You say this is again a key. That key to the function is greet. Or you say this is again a field. The field which holds the function. And this is an anonymous function without any name and without any parameter. You are not passing any parameter. What is inside the function is just you are printing hello world and you are not returning anything. Or maybe you might not have given this return as well. Doesn't matter. So this is one object. Let's say, and once you are, this is an object, you can use a dot sign. Since this becomes an object, immediately you have to say, you can use this. See, you have these properties, brand, CPU, and greet is a function. but this is also a field, and RAM. And these can have few more of the functions. We will see these are all the other function properties or functions, object properties and functions. But here we say that we would like to use greet, this one. And since greet doesn't have any, you can use that. So laptop is invoking or asking or calling a function within that laptop, within that object, greet. Within that object, laptop is having a function called greet. You are calling that function greet without any parameter. This is one thing. Another word, like in this thing, like in Java, you can use this keyword. Here also you can use this keyword. So I have a object called laptop1, which is having a CPU i5, RAM 16 GB, and brand Lenovo function. And we have a function called getConfig. Here we had a function called greet. Here you have a function getConfig, because here you are greeting the user. Here you are trying to get a configuration of this particular laptop. So what configuration you are trying to get? Through a function, anonymous function, you are trying to find that what is the value of CPU. And you don't have to mention laptop1. You don't have to mention laptop1. You can directly mention this, because you might not, there can be hundreds of laptops. So you do not need to remember. You just have to say, because you are under laptop1, you can directly use this. That will give you that this is the instance variable or the property of laptop1 CPU, and it will return. This is one. Another function within the same object laptop1, I have compare. This is my user defined function. It is not the function given by JavaScript. What is the function? It is saying other. That function is having, like here we are having nothing in getConfig. Here I'm trying to compare. What is the compare? I want to compare the CPU of laptop1 with the CPU of other laptop. So how do I do that? If this CPU means this i5 is less than other CPU, whichever other we are passing through this function parameter in this compare, that other's laptop CPU you are comparing, if it is less, then you print out this laptop, the entire object. You are printing the entire object. If this CPU is less, that other CPU, then you are printing the other CPU, the other sorry, not CPU, other whatever the object, other object. You are passing an object. So function you can pass a value, function you can pass a reference, or function you can pass an object. The entire object you can pass. And from that other object, you are comparing the property of this CPU with the other object CPU. Fine. This is another one. And we have a third object called laptop2. So we have laptop1, we have laptop1, and laptop2. In laptop2 also, laptop2 CPU is different. i7, 8 GB. It is a brand is HP. Here the brand is Lenovo. Here the brand is Lenovo as well. And getConfig function, you are saying this CPU. I will not go to any other CPU. I will go to laptop CPU and I will try to find out what is the CPU value. So whenever you are saying laptop1.getConfig, it cannot go to laptop2 or laptop. It will go to laptop1 and will try to find out getConfig. That means it is trying to print this CPU, getConfig. And similarly, laptop 2 get config. It will print this CPU i7. So it will print i5 here, laptop 1, and laptop 2 it will print i7. Okay. Another way is I am trying to get a function, but this function is outside. This is just an ordinary function. This function is outside any laptop 1 or laptop 2. But in this function, I'm trying to get the fastest laptop. This function name is get fast laptop. Whether the laptop 1 is faster or laptop 2 is faster. I'm checking if laptop 1 dot CPU is greater than laptop 2 dot CPU, that is i5, i7 is greater than i5. If it is so, then you print the laptop 1 as an object. Else you print laptop 2 as an object. Now I can use this function. I can pass in laptop 1 and laptop 2. I will see what will happen. That is, either I will print laptop 1 based on whether the CPU is greater than the other CPU, or I can print laptop 2. Okay. So laptop 1 compare. Now, since laptop 1 has a compare function, isn't it? Laptop 1 is having a compare function, and it is comparing the CPU, the same one. So I do not need the get fast laptop, but I will see that both the results are the same. If I say laptop 1 dot compare laptop 2, see here I'm passing only one parameter, the other parameter. So I'm comparing the CPU of laptop 1 with the CPU of laptop 2. So here I have passed in laptop 2. But can I give so I'm printing this one. Can I give this one? Is this correct?
No, sir.
No.
Because I here compare with the laptop 1 with the laptop 1.
No, not that. Because of that. But you see that object laptop 2, does it have a function called compare? That is the reason.
Okay.
See, laptop 2 has only one function called get config. Laptop 1 has this function get config as well as compare. Remember, you have to give us colon. Like here you have given a colon to make it a key, and this key is a function, this key is a variable holding a value like this one. But here you are having a function in laptop 1, not in laptop 2. So whenever you are saying laptop 2 dot compare, the compiler will complain that laptop 2 doesn't have any function called compare. Okay. Are you getting me? Okay, yes, let me open this and let me run this. You see, immediately you will not be able to execute it. There is a error. Laptop 2 dot compare is not a function. It is not trying. It will not never find, because laptop 2, this is laptop 2, doesn't have anything called a compare function. But let me put it like this. Let me again do this. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention you. I have given a comma. So fine, this comma is valid because there is something else. You see, this has another key, RAM. So fine, you are given this one, you have brand and a comma, because there is a continuation. But what about this? There is nothing else beyond compare. Still you can give, like in JavaScript is very flexible. You might omit this, doesn't matter, or you may give this over here. You see, now I am trying to add the compare. So even if I forget this, doesn't matter. So let's say earlier you didn't have this comma. Okay. If you didn't have this comma, you see expected a comma here. So therefore, if you keep it here like this, that is always a good idea. So you might find it very convenient that you do not have to remember that I can add here something else. And if I do something else here, I might have formatted this thing. Now it is more visible. So now I have added another compare. So here, to differentiate here, I say compare one. Okay. And then I say function other. This CPU is this one, i7. Less than other CPU, then whatever you do. Here I have to make it, you see there is an error. This error is because you have to use compare one. Laptop 2 doesn't have compare, but a compare one. So now the error has gone. Then it is fine. Here I am passing laptop 2 because I'm trying to compare laptop 2 CPU with laptop 1 CPU. Then it's fine. Let's run it. I think it should be working now. Oh, let me remove this. Let me open a new terminal, clear screen, and I will execute this. Yes. So first of all, hello world. Okay. Here I'm calling greet. So the calling greet means I am saying that hello world. There's only one single output, which is hello world. Fine, I have printed that. Now we come down, we say we have done whatever we have done, and then we have done laptop 2 and all these things. Here we will start getting the output. So laptop 1, it is calling get config. So what is laptop 1? I go to laptop 1 and get config. What is get config? It is a anonymous function where it is printing this CPU. So it will print i5. It has printed i5. Yes. It has returned nothing. Fine. Next, I am saying going to laptop 2 get config. Okay, I will go to laptop 2. I'm in laptop 2. I will say get config. Yes, I am there. I'm seeing this CPU. So this CPU is i7. Here it is i7. And thereafter, I had made this differentiator, a tilde. Then again we come here. Again we come here and I'm calling this function laptop 1, laptop 2. So I am saying I'm going to this get fast laptop. What I am printing? I am printing if laptop 1 dot CPU greater than laptop 2 dot CPU. Is it true? i5 is greater than i7? No. So what will it print? Laptop 2. So laptop 2 is nothing but i7, 8 GB HP, isn't it? I will go to laptop 2, i7, 8 GB HP, right? It is printed. And what is get config? It is nothing but a function. What is compare 1? It is also a function. Compare 1 is a function. Okay. So because you have printed laptop 2. That's why it's an object. Object will be printed like this. This is a JSON type of data output. Okay, in a JSON, you will have a curly braces for an object representation. You will have all the fields, whether even if it is a function, but it will mention it is a function. Correct? Acha. if I had gone to laptop1.compare and I'm passing a laptop2. Now let's see, go to laptop1, compare. Laptop1 is this. Laptop1 is this. And I go to compare, compare is this. I'm saying if this CPU, I mean the CPU which is i5 is less than other CPU, laptop2 CPU is i7. So yes, this is true. So it will print laptop1. You see, it is printing laptop1, i5 16 GB Lenovo, and get config, and that is compare. It is not compare1 because it is laptop1. So are you getting me? And laptop 2, why it has not done laptop 2? No, it has given, okay, here, it is here. Just to differentiate, okay? I will run it again. I will better close this. I will open a new terminal. Can you hear me? My voice is a bit low today.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Sorry. Oh, I cannot pass this. I have to pass only the one parameter, right? So that one parameter is nothing but I'm doing laptop 1. Sorry. So I'm passing laptop 1. I'm comparing laptop 2 CPU with the laptop 1 CPU. Let's see what is compare 1. Compare 1. I'm passing laptop 1. Okay. This CPU means laptop 2 CPU is less than other CPU. Is this true? Is this true? No. So it will come here. I will say other. So I will print laptop 1. But why it is not printing? Let me see. Yeah, it is printing. See how many printouts should be there? 1, 2, and 3. Yes. Correct? Do you agree? This is one printing of the object, either laptop 1 or laptop 2, based on the logic. And then it is printing laptop 2, and then it is printing laptop 1. Yeah. So all 3 JSON objects for the respective objects will be printed. You have got it right. Okay. Any questions till now?
Sir,
Huh?
sir, the callback function and the arrow function are the same thing.
Which one?
The callback function and arrow function in JavaScript.
Callback function.
Callback function and arrow function.
No, that arrow function is the lambda expression that you have been doing. This one. Okay, but you have to still call this function. Like you are saying grid. Grid is an output of that lambda expression. But still you have to call this function. Is that one that you are calling or saying, or the both are the same? But here you are doing a more easy to use and faster to execute sort of an expression through a lambda expression. Because anonymous functions are always easier to call and faster to execute than a name function. Because in a name function, you have to somewhere in the heap memory, you have to store it. But there is no, it's a runtime one. Whenever you call it, it will be executed. It does not need to be stored anywhere in the text area of the heap memory. You do not have to store it. Okay, so that is the advantage. Either you can go for the called function, like here anything is a called function. Whenever you are calling this greet1 user with a parameter user, you are calling this function greet1. But here there is no name to this function, and you are using with a lambda expression. Therefore, it is faster to use, and it doesn't have any memory backlog. I mean memory obligation. It doesn't need to be stored in the memory. That is the difference. So you are removing all the knowns, something which you know already. You do not need to mention here. So last thing of the function is your, how will you use the constructor function in JavaScript? Now, I have, since we were talking about functions which you can use with anonymous functions. Therefore, you can use lambda expression, and therefore you can use a function as an object, or you can use a function as a class, as we were saying that. Within an object, you can use a function. That is different topic. But as a function, you can store that function as an object. So is it not possible to use the function as an object or make a function an object? It is very much possible. In JavaScript, it is very easier to use a function as an object and an object as a function in interchangeable way. How? Let's say you will like to use this function as an entity object. So better, I have a table. I can use only one row, or I can add multiple rows. So table becomes an object, and the rows are sub-objects. But I can. It is not necessarily that if I cannot use a function as an object, then I will not be able to create multiple objects from that same function. So when you execute that function, you create an object. That is the beauty of this JavaScript function and object interchangeability. Let's say I have a function called alien. And I'm passing two parameters, name of that person and what is the technology that is conversant with. What I'm saying, we have already learned in this block of the function. I can give a semicolon as well. In this block, I am defining this function. I can use this. See the importance that whenever I'm using this means it is something to do with an object, right? So I'm trying to view this object alien as an object. So this function alien as an object. So therefore, I'm saying this dot name equal to name. Name I'm passing as a formal parameter. But this alien, by one single statement, I'm making the compiler aware that this function alien, which is an object, can have properties like name and text. These are the instance variables if you consider alien as an object. And I'm storing the name formal parameter into an instance variable name. Text as a formal parameter is storing that into this thing. And within that function, which is an object, I can have another function, another anonymous function, which I'm storing into another variable, which is mentioned through this. So all this name, take, and work, which is a function, anonymous function created from this, is all the properties like name and take are the attributes, and work is a function of an object called alien. And here I'm doing simple thing like I'm printing solving bugs for the last 12 hours, whatever, and return this. You can give this, or you might not. You can just have nothing written, or you might say you want to return the entire thing. So what is that entire thing? What I'm doing, I'm saying let alien1, this is a variable, but now I'm going to create an object. I'm going to create an object out of this function. So isn't it that I'm using this function as a constructor function? New alien. So I'm calling this function, but as a constructor function such that it can create an object called alien. It's a beautiful concept. Do you agree with me? Like in Java, when you create an object, you use new and a constructor. Now, till now, we have seen that all the functions are having a small letter. But once you indicate to the compiler that I am having a constructor function, then I must name it with a capital letter. At least one capital, the first letter capital. That is an indication that this function is nothing but a constructor function. And through this constructor function, I can create objects. And I can use the same function again and again to create hundreds of objects. Here, for the example's sake, I have created two objects, alien1 and alien2. Let's say these are person1, person2, person3, person4, downwards. But I'm using the same alien constructor function again and again and again and again, when only the data varies. So can I say that this is a constructor function? And Java definitely allows this. Just what you have to do, you have to change the first letter into a capital letter, and you can use a new and pass in whatever according to the prototype. You are passing two persons, Devashish and Nilanjana, with expertise in Java and JS. So you are creating two rows within that table called alien. And I'm trying to print the alien object, not the alien this thing. So in this alien and alien1 and alien2 are two objects. And within this object, I can now invoke a function called work. I can do that because this is a property of an object created through this function, constructor function. Let me execute this. You see, in Java also you have seen that whenever you print something or you create an object, whenever you are creating an entity, you have seen that in Java you can use the toString method. You generate a toString method string object, right? Because if you try to display an object, the hash code will be displayed, and hash code to you doesn't have any meaning. But if you display something as a toString object and you give the pattern how it should be displayed, here it is made so simple. You do not have, did you mention any pattern? Did you mention any toString or something like an object that you converted that object to a toString object? Nothing. Everything is taken care by JavaScript. You just have to create two objects. Once you say that I want to print that object, fine. JavaScript internally converts into a toString. And does, you see that this is the alien function, the constructor, and the way the constructor has a name property, a take attribute, name attribute, take attribute, and a work attribute, which is the function. So it is mentioning name as a key. What is the value? Debashish, comma. This is sort of a JSON format of displaying the object. Take is one key or attribute, and the value is Java. So key value, key value, key value, key value. But did you mention anywhere in your code that you wanted to have this in this format? No. But whereas in Java, you have to mention it. Otherwise, the object will be printed in the hash code, and you do not. That is not desirable. You cannot understand anything out of it. Here, everything has been formatted by you by JavaScript for you. So the second row is Niranjana JS, and the function is anonymous because there is no name to this function. Any questions? Okay. Now you will say, okay, sir, still you have said that a function can be a class. Yeah, because this is you are using as a constructor. Let me see. Here you have seen that this constructor function may be converted to a class declaration. So I go to a quick fix. That is the advantage you have when you use a standard editor. Like Visual Studio Code will quick fix how I want to create this as a convert that function into a class. You see, it has converted class alien, isn't it? So now the function has become a alien. I'm in the class, but at the same time, it is using a constructor function. Now this function has anonymous. It is not a name, but you will see that constructor name and the alias and the class name should be the same. We have learned in Java. So isn't it good that JavaScript has created something which you can relate with Java? So the entire function now has been converted into a class, and you have given the constructor the function definition within as a constructor. It is parameterized constructor having two parameters, name and take, and also work.
Sir, how did this happen? I didn't understand that. You converted into a class.
Okay, let me revert back. This was your function, right? I was saying that this alien I'm treating as if it is a function, but at the same time it is a constructor function through which an object can be created. Like in a constructor function of Java, you can create an object through a word called new. You know that, right? Similarly, when we are using JavaScript has given me a very powerful tool called a function. But at the same time, that function can be treated or converted to constructor function or be treated as a constructor function. Now, if I can treat that function as a constructor function, I can easily change that function into a class, having the same functionality, but as a constructor. Here, I have not mentioned constructor anywhere, but by mentioning the capital letter, I have changed it from an ordinary function into a constructor function. But here I have never mentioned anywhere any class or something. But I'm treating as if something, it is a constructor function without a class. I'm not using a constructor keyword, but I'm using a function keyword, but I'm using that function as a constructor to create objects through new. So this align becomes a constructor because the format of a constructor is similar to this, where you have the function name starting with a capital letter. Because you remember, a class will have a constructor and the class name and the constructor name remains the same. So if I have a constructor name as Alan, can I have a class name as Alan? Yes. So to convert that, see, I have created Alan1 and Alan2. You understand that this is a constructor function and I have created two rows, objects through this. So why not? I have a facility to declare that class directly. So what I do, I come here. You see there are 3 dots under alien. That is a significance that JavaScript is trying to give you some hint that I could have some more facility. What it is saying that this constructor function may be converted to a class declaration. We have not directly come to objects, but we are getting some idea because from next day, we are going to start with objects. Okay. So when we learn about objects, the similar thing what we have learned in objects in Java, you will have the similar, but with some other implementation, some different implementations. Just to get a hint of it, we have started using function as an object or as a class. So first step, what we have done, we have seen the use of a function if I treat that as an object, as a constructor, by creating this as a capital letter. Otherwise, everywhere the function name was, you see it was starting with a small letter. Get config, small letter. Small letter. Compare is a small letter. Compare1 is a small letter. But here we have given a function name with a capital letter. Our intention is to make an object, create an object through this constructor function, like we do in Java with a new word. So if I can do that, JavaScript has given me a quick fix that I can convert this constructor function. That function becomes a class. How? I convert that function to an ES2015 class. You see, I have changed the name of the function to a class, kept the function name as ln, but that ln becomes a class because I have used a class identifier. But within that, I have used a function called a constructor function without a name, because the constructor and the class name are the same. Thereafter, we are using align as a constructor function. So the other one and this one is the same. But isn't it good for maintenance? You know that this is an align class with a constructor, anonymous constructor, but anonymous, we know this is an align class. So the constructor name is also align. And we have 2 parameters, the rest is the same. the output of this will be exactly the same. Let's see. You see, the output is the same. So the function which was earlier was being called through an object, and this object we are printing it out like this, and we are calling a function within a function. Now it's a function within a class. We can call this, but we have finally converted this alien constructor into an alien class. The same thing, result is the same. I don't have to change this one at all, you see, because I'm using an align constructor. Here the constructor is align. So if you can use a constructor align, you can use a function align, you can use that as a class. This is more easy to understand than when you are writing a function with a function and with a capital A, align.
And sir, how this keyword will work over here?
How?
This keyword.
This keyword, like exactly like in Java, this means that you are using this object. See, there is a difference between this name and this name. This name is coming as a formal parameter, a parameter like Devashish, Nilanjana. This will keep on changing, but this is a variable, instance variable for this class. If I had given name 1 and take 1, there was no need. You see, immediately it has struck out. There was no need for giving this. All these things you have learned in Java. Okay. But one big thing here, you see, in Java, you already have mentioned in the class, you have mentioned int or string name as your initialized instance variable. But since you have not initialized it, it is giving some problem. Let me execute this. Could not find the name tag. Did you mean take 1? Okay, because you are passing it take 1, but here you are mentioning name, but you have to say take. You have to differentiate. Here is the only difference, because you have not defined name and take, so it will not automatically get, though it's part of this. But if you keep the same here, there is no issue. The formal and the instance variable, if you keep this, again, it is not finding, could not find name 1. Oh, sorry. Now, if you do not mention this, will you know which one is what? So to make this understandable, you say this means it is an instance variable. Instance means instance of this align object or align class. And this one is a difference. This one has coming outside of this class. It is supplied externally, these variables with the value. Okay. And this one is the instance variable.
Sir.
Huh.
Sir, in order to avoid confusion, why not name something else? This dot something else and this dot something else for name.
But this dot, you have not defined it. You have not defined it, right? If you say this dot name 1 and take 1, okay? This should work. But in that case, yeah. So here there is a difference between the formal parameter and this, because you have mentioned this. But if you had not given this, what will happen? There is an error, because then this is not a instance variable. This is not an instance variable. This is something which will it consider as a local variable. But for a local variable, you have to define it. Then it is fine. But why do you have to waste so much of time and code space? You are understanding? So why don't you? Because you are using as a constructor or a class, you know the concept of instance variable. So if to differentiate it, you have to say this. Then you do not have to define it. You are mentioning to the compiler that this is an instance variable. That is that these variables, sorry. So these variables have a meaning. These are the instance variables. That is, these are the properties or attributes of the class or the constructor function. That's why you are using this. Have you got the difference between this and this? You cannot mention without the name one without defining it. But why to define it when you know that this is a constructor method of a class? Then you just have to use this. This keyword is very beautiful keyword. Like in this, you have given this console log, this CPU. This means for this object, this laptop. Similarly, it is a class, but through this class you are going to create an object. So when this is object, so align one should have an instance variable called name1 or take1. To avoid different variables, you can. But here also this name is different from this name. This is a formal parameter which is coming from here, and this is an instance variable. So you are storing the value of Devashish into the instance variable, instance variable of align object. You are storing the tech, which is Java or JS. You are storing Nilanjana in here. So next time in this object, align 2. So this is different and this is different. Or if you want to know, if I say log, if I say, can I mention alien1? Can I mention, because alien1 is an object, can I mention name? So which name will be printed? I do not know. But can I do that? Just 1 minute. Hello. Hello. Yeah, I'm a bit busy here. I'm in a session. Okay. So any guess? When I say ln1, I say name. Any guess? First of all, can I do this? Because ln1 I've created as an object. And whenever you say dot name, actually you are saying ln1 this dot name. So what was this dot name? In ln1, what did you put in as a name?
Devashish.
Yes. So now can you understand that this is an instance variable? This is an instance variable. But you cannot mention this over here. Can I mention this? Because then there is a confusion. Let me say Let me see whether JavaScript allows this. Java will not allow. Okay.
Sir, alien one dot this dot name, can we write?
I don't. Alien one dot. If there is a this, there is no this here. Can you see this? No. So you cannot do that. But my question was, can I do this dot name? Let me run this again. So you see undefined, because JavaScript is very sensitive. If it is having any confusion, it will just give you undefined. It will not give you an error, because it is not finding whether this is from this object or this object. There are two objects. But here, if I say align to okay, I just go here. I have printed Nilanjana, right? But what happened if I haven't done this? Naturally, there is a problem. I will get an error. Because if I have not created that object, how can I get a property from that object? So there is an error. Align to is an error because I have not created that align to. Any other question? So you have understood. Suppose, let's say I have given name 1 and take 1. Can I do that? So invariably I have to give name 1 and take 1. Otherwise, is there any error? No, because I'm putting name 1, the value in the name 1 into name. This name has to be, because I have given this. So it is an instance variable. I do not have to redefine it, this name, because it belongs to LAN class. Understand? So I can give any formal parameter. It doesn't need to be the same as the instance variable. Any questions? So this is a very tricky one. Not tricky, it is very interesting that you are converting a constructor function into a class, but mentioning constructor here. Just you have to practice this out at your home. You will understand. Okay. So we will end the session today. Any questions further to this?
No, sir.
You have understood what has been discussed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, many have left. Okay, no problem. So I will stop this screen sharing.